In this chapter, Care to Collaborate, Uniting Legacy and FinTech for Success, we're joined by industry leaders, moderated by Janine Hirt, CEO of Innovate Finance. Janine, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janine Hirt, the Chief Executive of Innovate Finance, the industry body for UK FinTech. And I'm really excited to welcome you today to Mambu's Customer First panel in EMEA. And today we're going to discuss the advantages of bringing together FinTech solutions and legacy banks to help drive innovation and digital-driven value propositions. So today we're going to hear from some key players involved in bringing an ecosystem partnership to life. So I'm so excited to have with us Tom Mazzaferro, Chief Data Officer at Western Union, Nick Holt, Director of Solutions Engineering at Marqeta, Justus Roux, Solutions Engineering Manager at Mambu. I would really be keen to hear from each of you, just very briefly, of overview of your role within your company and your focus areas. And how about, Thomas, let's start with you.
Sure, thanks so much. So great to be here and part of this larger forum. So thanks for the invite. So as part of our strategy and our vision is really around how do we enable additional products and services to our customers around the world, right? We're also doing quite a bit here with partnerships you hear about today with both Marqeta and Mambu, being able to enable those new products and services to our customers in Europe, right, to start, then looking to expand that even more holistically. So today, we offer money transfer and bill pay around the world, right, to 150 million customers. And as part of that, it's really around how do we expand that trust, that brand, that partnership, that relationship, and those products and services to our customers to really help them in their everyday lives going forward. So what's really we've basically been focusing on here with our partnerships with both Marqeta and Mambu is how do we actually help to improve the everyday lives of our customers going forward and help them manage their financial livelihood, right, in a better and smart way.
Great, thanks, Thomas. How about Nick?
Hi, again, just to Tom's point, thanks very much for inviting us to join the panel discussion. The three organizations have been working pretty closely for a fair amount of time now, so it's nice to kind of come together and talk about some fun stuff. So I run our solutions engineering group for Marqeta, which means we get to speak to all of our customers and help them build products and services against the Marqeta platform. The Marqeta platform is a modern card issuer processor, which means we take the complexity away from payments and allow organizations to build modern, innovative card products on the platform wherever they want to in the world.
Right, and hi, Justus Roux, with Mambu, not sort of, heading up solution engineering for the EMEA region. And yeah, it's similar to what Nick does, just on the Mambu side, where we try to integrate and match core banking solutions with the various different customers.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for being here. And I want to dive right into the conversation, because I think it's fair to say that many people will point to the global financial crisis of 2000, 2007, 2008 as really driving the fintech movement and the financial innovation movement that we see today. So it's been a really interesting past 10 years, not least marked by the COVID pandemic over the past 2 years. I would be keen to hear from each of you how you see financial institutions and the big banks having changed over the past 10 years with regards to the rise of fintech solutions and how they're increasingly either changing their adoption or changing how they engage with the fintech community. And maybe, Tom, we start with you from the Western Union perspective, because I think particularly looking at how you've approached digital transformation over the years and how that has shifted would be quite interesting.
Yeah, sure. So there's been a pretty big shift. Obviously, there's additional risks and controls and regulations that came into play post the financial crisis. But the actual bigger transformation is really around customer experience and really around what our customers are demanding of our financial institutions and being able to provide to them. So the analogy I always like to give is the Apple analogy, right? So Apple enables a seamless experience through their ecosystem of products and services, as well as with their partners, right, through the App Store. And customers today don't think of financial services and telecom as two different industries. They think of it as the same integration and customer experience holistically. right? And it's really put a lot of, I think, pressure across both the newcomers, so the fintech and the neobanks, as well as the traditional banks, right? To really think about how do you drive that truly seamless customer experience going forward, and really not just capture the customer, but also have the best experience possible to retain the customer. I think that actually has been a huge shift since the financial crisis, above and beyond all the other regulatory requirements and new laws that came into place, but really a pretty big shift on how to better service our customers holistically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, you go ahead, Justus.
Oh, thanks, Nick. It's actually so interesting what Thomas has said there, because everybody's about the customer touch points and where we are able to measure them. You know, data is the new oil. People will throw that around. And where's those touch points? And I think where it's interesting, specifically, if we think of fintechs and stuff that's on the cloud, having those API points for things that weren't in the past. If you had an on-premises point software, you didn't always have the touch point. You didn't actually know what needs to be worked on. And I think where fintechs come in is where they're able to focus on one specific environment, like a card, like a core banking, or like a digital front end, and gives people the ability to focus on what's unique for the customer. Thomas is probably more worried, and please, Thomas, I don't want to speak for you, but more worried about the user customer value journey, the value proposition that they have for it. And they don't want to worry about how banking actually or interest rates and those things work on. You want to focus on that specific. So in the past 10 years, with fintechs coming up, APIs and these touch points, you're able to have much more data points to keep that customer, to make it more interesting for them to stay on and become them more sticky. Sorry, Nick, I interrupted you there.
No, it's on the same theme, really.
Yeah.
So I think somebody mentioned legacy earlier on, and I often like to think of legacy in the truest sense of the word, and that isn't, it's not, there's no negative connotations to this. Some of the technology that underpins some of our biggest banks has been around for a long time. And when it was in place and when it was designed and developed, it was the cutting edge technology at the time. Times moved on, and obviously after the financial crisis in 2008, it allowed for a lot of new technology providers to enter into the market, and therefore allow products and services to be built, exactly to your point, Tom, that creates that stickiness and creates that seamless journey. So what we've seen over the last, well, we've been around for about 10, 12 years now, and what we've seen is that organizations are able to build and deliver very specific targeted product offerings to do piecemeal some of the services that they would have traditionally got from a large scale bank. And so from a large financial institution's perspective, being able to react to that and respond to that is very, very important, and also very, very difficult if you base it on the technology that's been around for many years. And so the coming together of best in class technologies and people, to your point, Justus, to specialize in these very narrow niches allows an organization such as Western Union to come along and truly innovate and build new products. Whereas if they had to rely on the technology that they've been utilizing for many, many years, it'd be much harder for them to do it. It would take a lot longer.
Yeah, I think maybe one extra point to make there, and specifically if you've got best in service, like, or for like on a SaaS base that's across the world, it's like COVID was a perfect example. Suddenly you had to have payment holidays or something like that. You don't want all the banks to worry about figuring that out. So if you have a SaaS solution that's able to bring that new innovation, and offers Thomas now to bring that innovation to his clients without them using the R&D to build that. But yeah.
And I want to dive in a little bit here on the partnerships piece, because we know that it's not easy to build effective win-win partnerships or collaboration. So you've both mentioned, Nick and Thomas, you've mentioned some areas where there's true benefit for collaborating from the startup and the institutional side. But I'm curious, are there any other specific standout benefits for an institution that is embracing fintech solutions? And particularly, Thomas, I'm looking at you on potentially some case studies or some use studies where you've seen these benefits come to life.
Sure. So I would say it's a few pieces of components, actually. So number one is being able to leverage our partners where they excel the most, right? Which is where their expertise sits, right? So it is impossible for a company to be good at everything. Impossible, right? You don't have the right expertise, knowledge, and scale to do that, right? In any company, for that matter, right? So being able to partner and being able to rely on those partners to fill the gaps and to help provide best-in-class services for those different products and capabilities become vitally important, because that allows us then to offer that seamless and great customer experience to our customers, right? Through our partners. And that's where they excel. They excel at their expertise. That's what we've really seen here is that, I'll give a few examples here if I can. So Mambu has done a great job of being able to put in place a modernized core banking platform that we can configure new products on pretty quickly, or be able to modify current products pretty quickly to adjust to our customer needs, what the market's telling us, and what's available. That is amazing compared to where I've come in the past, where other banks, where you can't do that, where you're on the mainframe or you're on a legacy stack, and it takes you 6 months to make a core banking change or update.
I think culture is a really important and under-talked about aspect of that as well, Thomas. So if you take, Western Union with the time that you guys have been in existence and the brand that you guys have built around the world, and then you put together that with kind of modern, relatively new organizations, and maybe it's not obvious that there's a strong cultural fit here, but there definitely is. And the cultural fit comes from the desire to bring those best in-class products to life in order to satisfy the customer needs and that experience piece that you talked about at the beginning, Tom. So, a fintech, a technology organization that's been around for 10 years would kill for a brand of the longevity of Western Union. There's tremendous power and value in that brand. It's an incredibly well-trusted brand. So having that face the product and have Western Union do what they do really, really well, which is satisfy those customers' needs, underpinned by technology companies in the background, but all of us striving towards that common goal of building the best possible products that we can to service the customer.
Yeah, Nick, you hit the nail on the hit the nail on the head there. Technology is only an enabler. It all comes down to the culture, and if everybody's agile and actually agile, as I want to say, and approach it. So I'm quoting one of our execs with technology as an enabler, and that's exactly what it is.
Right. And I imagine a lot of our audience will be interested to hear about how you execute on a successful partnership. So I'm quite keen to also understand from you, what do you look for when choosing a partner? And potentially even some advice that you have for both the institutions and the fintechs that are looking to collaborate.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of pieces. So let's start in the normal cycle of trying to go from nothing to a product and solution, right? So as companies look for partners, one of my pet peeves, I know many of the other executives in the industry as well, is when a partner comes and says, tell me your strategy and vision and your priorities. And my comment is, if you don't know what those are, you shouldn't be in the phone call with us right now. Go do your research ahead of time, right? That's the first piece. Come prepared, and come prepared with understanding what the company's solution is. Come prepared understanding what the company's strategy is, where they're going, and how you can help the service and support them. That's part of that journey. That's kind of piece one. Number two is, as we go into the partnership, being able to be flexible across both sides, right? So obviously it's never going to be a one way, right, type of partnership. For a partnership to work, has to be both ways, right? Give and take, and being able to come to common grounds, not just on terms or commercial agreements, but on how do you configure the product, how do you go to market, how do you think about integrations, how do you think about being able to take this product to the customer, how do you take customer feedback and incorporate that accordingly to product enhancements. That becomes very important, right? The third piece, or the third step in my mind, is that, okay, you now have it in place, you've built the product, now you go to market, right? And when you go to market, it's never going to be what you thought it was. It's always going to have changes and differences and variances from what you thought it would be. So you have to be able to learn and come back and make adjustments, and then continue to partner together going forward, right? A partnership doesn't stop after the first product is built. That's the starting point. Then you have to iterate on that, right? As the industry evolves, the market evolves going forward. That to me is really what I've seen as a good partnership, being able to collaborate, being able to partner, be able to learn from each other, and then take that and expand upon it accordingly.
Justus, what are your thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, because we go back to what we were saying before about allowing the technology organizations to specialize in a niche. And I'll just talk from our own perspective here. Cards are really unnecessarily complicated, and most people don't want to understand how cards work, and nor should they, because that's the experience that we bring and the knowledge that we bring. And so building that kind of almost consultative partnership with the rest of the ecosystem is saying, okay, I appreciate that's how you want the product designed. However, based on our experience, we've seen this kind of thing work over here. Have you thought about this? Maybe we could add this in, and kind of almost bring in the benefit of multiple years worth of experience in a very niche segment to kind of enhance the product and develop the product, but also allowing that two-way conversation for when, Western Union as an organization say, well, actually, we thought it would work like this. Having the ability to take that away and go, well, actually, that's not a bad idea. Let's see if we can do something on our side, and not saying, oh, file a change request and we'll come back to it in 6 months and charge you a load of money. But just that whole consultative partnership approach is very, very important, I think.
Yeah, again, Nick, this is such an easy conversation here because we agree on all these points, right? Specifically, if you think of this,
partners.
Yeah. Specifically when it comes to the solution engineering side, because we have to sort of build that trust initially in terms of, okay, this is where we're going. And if we deal with someone with Marqeta, that's sort of a downstream component from Mambu, we need to figure out, okay, this is where we are, to give Thomas sort of that comfort. However, on the other side, you said it quite well. There's a lot of things that we can learn from Thomas's business case and use cases, and it all only happens off the signature. And that's why I need to highly commend the onboarding teams that we have, the CSMs and those people that have built that relationship, that Thomas knows that if he needs to, dare I say, escalate, or if he just needs to understand where we are with our roadmap, that is where we are. Because at the end of the day, Mambu is also a product company, right? We have to create a product that's sustainable. We don't come here to, have a bums on seat approach. We need to make sure that something's scalable and to grow for the other partners like Marqeta and the other partners like Western Union. That's more on the customer end. Because no one will phone Thomas to say that my core banking solution isn't working. It's the Western Union logo that's there. So we understand it's he's customer facing on that side. Yeah.
It's symptomatic of the technology as well, I think. So both Mambu and Marqeta have this kind of open API structure. Our product is a bunch of API endpoints that people can use some or all of wherever they are in the world. So if Western Union come to us and ask for an enhancement, there's a very good possibility that that's going to be beneficial to a customer over here. And there's not necessarily a commercial conversation to be had, but there's a usage conversation. And so allowing that feedback, and very much to your point, Thomas, once the program's live, that's when the relationship really starts, right? So we come and work with our customers, and we work with Western Union and understand what direction their product needs to go in, and if there's different countries that they're interested in the future or different product features, and some of that might be available today, some of it we might need to add to a roadmap, but it's this two-way communication. It's important, I think.
And let's look specifically at the cloud-native solution. So how do these types of solutions make it possible for legacy institutions to expand their customer base and also their international reach?
I think this is an interesting piece that I'll chime into first here. So having a cloud-native solution and being able to deploy quickly, right? Have a standard deployment, right? Being able to drive configuration rather than having to develop from scratch, and being able to offer a SaaS-based capability, which both Marqeta and Mambu provide, for us provides a lot of value, right? So one is, the experts are running the platform, they know how to run the platform, right? Two is that they deploy the platform, they know how to deploy it properly, right? And then three is making sure that it can scale. So as volumes come in, right, they also can then scale it horizontally on the cloud, which becomes very important from a timeliness, right? Meeting our business growth targets and so forth, which is a very different model than what it used to be, even just 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, if you were in a big bank, you were, drastically calling up your infrastructure team and saying, I need 100 new servers tomorrow. And they're like, well, you have 6 weeks to wait. So very different model, very different operating model, and really the ability to pivot into really lean into growth as it comes, but also be able to provide that continuous support, that continuous experience that the customers expect every single day.
Yeah, it's exactly that point. So that that elasticity is tremendously powerful. So obviously during COVID, lots and lots of people changed their spending behavior, and lots of people started spending a lot of time shopping online and having the stuff delivered, whether that was food or goods and services and so on. And so just globally, card volumes increased. And so in a traditional model, Thomas's point, that would have resulted in product guys phoning up infrastructure guys screaming for new servers, but you just don't need to. It just can expand almost organically. And so that you end up with this seamless experience that Thomas talked about, that not only do the card holders not know what's going on in the background because they shouldn't need to, but nor do our customers. It's not important to them as long as it works, as long as it remains functional. And so that having a cloud-based architecture or a cloud-native architecture to allow this elasticity, it allows for this seamless experience.
Yeah, and one maybe component also is in terms of when we talk about cloud, we need to talk about regulatory components as well, in terms of giving you the ability to go into different countries, that you don't need to have an on-premises environment there. If you think of EU regulations, it allows you to access a cloud-based that is in Frankfurt that you can access in various different other areas as well. Yes, there's a compliance side that you need to work on, but suddenly you don't need to worry again about geography so much. It's just a different URL that you need to point. And if something works in one country, copy and paste it to a different country. It might also be relevant there.
So I'm conscious that we've got only a few minutes left, as I want to dive right in and look specifically at your partnership and collaboration. So Tom, very openly, what are the factors that drove the decision for Western Union to select Mambu and Marqeta as providers?
Oh, so now you're talking about the special sauce. I don't know if I can expose everything, but I can absolutely provide a bit of clarity. So maybe I'll start with Mambu first. So Mambu for us was quite important on really three fronts, right? So being able to, as you mentioned before, have a cloud native solution, being able to scale in the cloud horizontally, and being able to really meet our needs, not just through having to build a core banking platform, but basically configure the products and go to market quickly. That was one key component. Two was around the actual backend operational service layer that Mambu offers. So, everyone talks about self-service. So customers are self-service, which is great. It's always the happy path. What about the unhappy path, right? So many core banking platforms do not offer a seamless operational backend UI UX interface for your operational staff, your customer care staff. So having that in a seamless and concise way to manage and to support our customers was quite important. And then the third piece was actually how Mambu partners. So having the ability to have a modular architecture, a modular platform which you can plug in and plug out different components becomes very valuable for us in the future, that as the space evolves, we can evolve with Mambu going forward. So that was really the overall Mambu piece. For Marqeta, obviously different platform, different product offering, right? So from a card platform standpoint, it offers very similar things, right? So being able to offer a platform that's scalable, a process that's scalable, right? Two is having a modernized platform where you can, where they're continuing to innovate and transform. I know that Marqeta has now done a partnership in offering cryptocurrency-backed debit cards, right? So doing things that allow you to innovate and to transform and to meet different market demands and allows your customers to plug into those features going forward are quite important. And then number three is really, once again, the same thing around how do you configure and how do you get your overall card platform up and running, and the operating model that Marqeta put in place where they actually are a partner in helping set up that platform so it works properly, is configured properly. For us is very important because it allows us to make sure that we're set up for success as we go forward.
Thanks, Tom. And that's a resounding testament, I think, to the great collaboration that we've seen across the three of you. Nick and Justus, any closing comments or thoughts?
Just very briefly for me, I mean, we have been working on this for a little while, and partnerships aren't always easy, but as long as you go into them with an open mind, the right attitude, and ultimately the right objective in mind, which is creating a market-leading product that genuinely benefits cardholders, it's a path to a long and happy partnership.
Yeah, I must say, coming from a pre-sale side, seeing how execution actually comes to the end there, specifically after contract's been signed, it's absolutely great having Western Union, obviously, for all the dedication, and Marqeta that fills such a specific need when it comes specific to card functionality, again, as you said, in COVID. And again, comment needs to be made to the collaboration specifically for the teams, on the onboarding teams, the people that work week in, week out, to make Thomas happy in that sense. And he seems happy. So then we're fortunate and happy to be continuous in this relationship.
Great. Well, thank you all so much again, because I think we've heard some really inspiring words about how we can move ahead with partnerships and collaboration, both for the benefit of financial services more broadly and for the end consumer as well. So it's been some illuminating perspectives. And thank you so much, Thomas and Nick and Justus, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for listening.